Welcome to the graveyard. I'm Violet Hummingbird, and today is day 28 of Spooky October, where every evening for the month of October, I read you a true ghost story. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss another ghost story. And I will be discovering the story along with you, as I actually haven't read it all the way through myself. Today's story is by Lisa. I never believed in ghosts, and I used to laugh at my friends when they told me stories of supernatural encounters that they had had. All that changed the summer we rented an old house by the sea in Italy. It was a lovely Mediterranean bungalow, perched upon a hill and overlooking an azure bay. The huge wild garden was full of fruit trees, flowers, bushes, and palm trees, and to me it resembled a small Eden. I could not understand why its owners did not want to live there anymore. Everything about it seemed so perfect. Our party consisted of me, one of my girlfriends, and two befriended couples. Since there were only 3 bedrooms in the house, my friend Lily and I decided to share one of the bedrooms. We had brought a portable radio with us, which we set up and turned on immediately after we had arrived to get us into a party mood while we were unpacking. I was just humming to my favorite tune and moving in the bathroom to unpack my toiletries when the music suddenly stopped. "Hey, what's going on?" I yelled to Lily, who was folding her clothes in the bedroom. "I really liked that song. Why did you turn it off?" "I didn't." Lily's surprised face appeared in the doorway. It must have turned itself off. I wasn't even close to the radio. "Impossible," I said, moving toward the offending boombox in order to examine it. "Radios don't just turn themselves off. There must be an explanation. Is the power in the house still on?" Lily flicked a light switch. "Yep, all working." Bending over the radio, I saw the on and off switch had been slid from side to side into the off position. I turned the radio back on. Music blasted forth just as before. "Strange," I shook my head in disbelief. "Perhaps there's something wrong with this radio, though I've never had that problem before." I shot a suspicious glance at Lily, who innocently continued unpacking. Was she making fun of me by pretending that it hadn't been her joke? When the radio turned itself off for the second time, we were both in the room and reading. Neither of us was close to the radio, but suddenly the power switch flicked from the off position into the off position again. We looked at each other in disbelief, but said nothing. Over the next few days, the same thing kept happening several times a day. Sometimes the radio turned itself on, sometimes it switched to off. These occurrences only happened when either Lily or I were in the same room. None of our other friends ever witnessed the uncanny spectacle, though we had told them about it and were eager for them to believe us. It was Oliver who first suggested that it might be a poltergeist. As he explained, poltergeists are mischievous spirits who can haunt houses or people by moving objects, making noises, or even assaulting persons. He said that poltergeists were not usually malevolent, but that they enjoyed frightening and annoying people, and that the best way to deal with them was to talk strictly to them as to a child or dog. Of course, I wasn't having any of that nonsense. As a total rationalist, I was sure there must be a more plausible explanation for what was going on. Also, as I pointed out, a dodgy radio alone was not enough evidence for any kind of ghost, let alone a poltergeist. But stranger things began to happen over the next few days. One morning when I woke up, my wristwatch was gone. I was sure I'd placed it on the bedside table the previous evening, the way I always do. When I told Lily, she made some jokes about me having had too much Italian Pinot Grigio the night before. I suggested we have a look in the bathroom. I searched not only the bathroom, but the whole house. Nothing. Our friends remembered me wearing the watch the day before, but nobody had seen it since or could remember me taking it off. As it was quite an expensive watch, I became very upset when I realized that it was probably lost for good. Everybody had helped look with no results. Around lunchtime, I felt exhausted, so I decided to just stretch out on the bed and try to relax for a little while. When I stepped into the bedroom, the first thing that caught my eye was my wristwatch lying in the center of the bedside table. I'd cleared and searched the bedside table many times in the course of the morning, and the watch hadn't been there. For a moment, I suspected that Lily might have pulled a sick joke on me, but when she entered the room, I saw her utterly surprised face. I knew she hadn't taken it. The incident remained unexplained. Another time, when we were getting ready for bed, I noticed that Lily had draped her straw hat over the glass lampshade on the table, but had forgotten to turn the light off. Worried that the hat might burn, I switched the lamp off and joined Lily in the bathroom. Only a few minutes later, Lily crinkled her nose. "Is that a burned smell in here?" "Yeah, funny," I replied. "It seems to be coming from the bedroom. I'll have a look." I rushed back into the bedroom and discovered that Lily's straw hat was smoking on top of the lighted lamp, almost completely black already. A few minutes longer, and I am sure it would have burst into flames. This was not the end of our strange experiences. One early morning, the wooden shutters of the French windows leading out to the garden from our room started rattling like crazy, though there was absolutely no breeze. It was almost as if somebody was standing outside, banging the doors in an attempt to force them open and to get into our room. Despite my terror, I forced myself to get up and open the shutters, in case it might be an animal. But when I looked, I saw and heard nothing. The noise stopped, and even after I had gone back to bed, the shutters remained firmly closed. Another day, as I was laying the dinner table, a wine glass suddenly crashed to the floor and broke, though I had been nowhere near it and certainly hadn't touched it. Lily found one of her t-shirts torn in the cupboard. Several pages were ripped out of one of my favorite novels. The laces on one of my trainers disappeared for a while, only to be found among the oleander on the garden. Strangely enough, nothing ever happened to our friends. It seemed as if Lily and I were the chosen victims of some invisible prankster, making us seem like loonies to the rest of the party, who saw no evidence of ghosts except for a torn book and some broken glasses. Only Oliver believed us, and following his advice, we secretly began to speak to the poltergeist, asking it to do us no harm, as we were only temporary visitors in the house. Unfortunately, our long speeches had little effect. Things continued to be lost or destroyed without Lily or me even being near them. It began to dawn on me that the landlords might have had a good reason for not wanting to stay in the house anymore. Perhaps the poltergeist was one of theirs, a relative who died in the house and not found rest. When we got back to from our holiday, I even contacted the owners of the house and asked them about the strange occurrences, but they claimed never to have noticed anything. Also, the eerie happenings stopped as soon as we were back home. We never went back to the haunted holiday house, and we never got to the bottom of the secret it harbored. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of that story, and if you have a true spooky story of your own, feel free to email it to me. My email is heytherehummingbird@runbox.com. I'll put that in the description down below, and I will see you tomorrow night for another spooky story, and until then, happy spooky October.